For thousands of years, the human experience was defined by a series of hard, immutable boundaries. You were born into a world governed by cause and effect, where if a bone broke or a crop failed, the result was final. These laws formed a box around human life. Biology failed us, gravity and storms dominated us, resources were finite, mortality ended every story. Historically, there was no negotiating with these rules. You reached your limit and succumbed. The system was closed, the locks secure. Into this locked system stepped Jesus of Nazareth. While historical records often focus on his ethics, his actions served a different purpose. They functioned as a direct, physical challenge to these supposedly unbreakable laws. These were not random displays of power. They were a targeted deconstruction of the boundaries that defined human suffering, intended to prove that the rules of reality were not as permanent as they seemed. The deconstruction began with the biological limit. Ancient accounts describe a man blind from birth, a condition that by all natural laws of the time was a permanent physical deficit. With a touch and a word, the biological requirement for years of medical recovery was bypassed. Sight was not slowly restored, it was simply present. The challenge then moved to the physical limit. During a massive storm at sea, his followers found themselves at the mercy of environmental forces their boat could no longer withstand. He didn't swim or wait for the wind to die down. He walked directly onto the water, treating it as solid ground. This demonstrated a specific kind of authority. It showed that he wasn't just surviving the chaos, he was operating entirely outside the jurisdiction of physical gravity and fluid dynamics. Then came the material limit, a problem of pure mathematics. 5,000 people needed to be fed, but the available resources were exactly 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. As soon as those limited resources were distributed, the scarcity vanished. The math failed, but the people ate. The physical law of conservation of mass was superseded by a sudden, inexplicable abundance. Finally, he addressed the ultimate boundary, the mortality limit. His friend Lazarus had been dead for 4 days, buried in a tomb where biological decay had already set in. Standing at the entrance of the grave, he called for the man to come out. The process of death did not just stop, it reversed. A 4-day-old corpse became a living, breathing human being again. By pulling a man back from the grave, he proved the most feared and final law of human existence had lost its absolute sovereignty. If these events happened as recorded, we have to ask why. Why systematically break the laws of biology, physics, mathematics, and death? The pattern suggests a deliberate shift in where humans place their trust. By proving that the physical world's final answers could be overruled, he invited people to stop relying solely on what they could see and measure. This realization introduced a new possibility into the human condition. If death was no longer an inescapable wall, then no circumstance, no matter how dire, had to be the end of the story. That historical framework continues to offer an alternative to despair. It suggests that when we reach the absolute end of our own resources, or the limits of what modern science can explain, there is still a path forward. It asserts that our physical limitations are not the final word on our lives. For those who can believe in a reality beyond the visible laws, the impossible is still within reach.